Welcome to Rick's Europe. Today we're going to discuss Javier Milei, the man with eccentric sideburns and an iron will. Because Argentinia's libertarian president is doing what few thought would be possible. He's turning a country plagued by decades of socialist mismanagement into a case study in economic revival. Since taking office in December 2023, Milei has slashed public spendings by over 30%, ended the fiscal deficit for the first time in 16 years, and brought monthly inflation down from nearly 25% to just 1.5%, the lowest in 5 years. With his chainsaw in a hand, both symbolically and legislatively, Milei is cutting through bloated bureaucracy, dismantling populist clientelism, and reviving investors' confidence. Argentina isn't just stabilizing, but it's waking up. And for conservatives worldwide, it's proof that bold reform, real and austerity, and unapologetic free market principles still work. Well, I'm very proud that today with me is the one and only wonderful Candela Sol Silva. She is a political commentator, political advisor at La Voz de Patriota, and she's also working with some politicians of Javier Milei's party. Miss Sol Silva, I'm so happy you're here. Welcome.
Hello, Scarlett. Thank you very much for bringing me here with you.
I'm sorry, it's the hay fever. Or the excitement, or maybe both. For our audience, can you give a little bit of background information of who you are and what it is that you do?
Yes, I'm a journalist. I'm an interviewer. I worked with some young politicians of Milei party. And since the Italian election of 2022, I'm connected with Fratelli d'Italia, Brothers of Italy, Giorgia Meloni party. So actually, I am the responsible of the youth of Fratelli d'Italia in Argentina.
Incredible. We're also going to discuss, of course, the relationship between your president and your other president in Italy. The biggest fear, I think, for the globalists. But let's go first. And what I really think is so inspirational about Milei is that he has turned your economy upside down in the most positive way possible. Like we discussed in the beginning, in December, when he started, December 2023, your country was plagued with a 25% rate in inflation. Actually, just a couple of days ago, there's a new article published in the Financial Times that inflation has been cut down to 1.5%. That's historical on its own. How do you think he managed to do that? Like, what's the secret behind it?
Yes, as you said, the annual inflation of 2023 was 211. Imagine that. For a European, it's completely blow your mind. Javier Milei, first of all, stopped printing money as a key measure to reduce inflation because he believes that printing too much money causes prices to go up. So by stopping it, he wants to bring inflation down and stabilize the economy. That's first of all. But then he did the chainsaw politics, the reduction of public spending. Public spending was cut by around 30% in the first 10 months. And that's a lot. Then he also did tax reform to give the states more liberty and to make the states more competitive between them. So a state could bring more competitive to the new industry. So an industry could choose which state is better for me because of the taxes, for example. That's all Javier Milei did to change that reality. He also reduced a lot of ministers and public positions. The ministers were 18 when he came to power, and now they are 9. So 9 ministers less he cut, for example.
Wow.
This is all the important things. And for example, the poverty dropped from 53% to 38%. Of course, he still has a lot of challenges in the future, but 53 to 38 of poverty, it's a lot.
Especially given the fact that he's been a president for now, what is it, not even 2 years, a year and a half, that he already managed to put Argentina financially back, cutting down also the numbers of people living in poverty, because that's what we're talking about. Those numbers, they're irrelevant. We're talking about the way of quality of life people get to live, and it's offering hopefully more perspectives to Argentina. I want to continue talking about maybe his hallmark, which is his chainsaw. And I think we all remember this iconic moment during CPAC in the United States last February. Elon Musk came up, jumping or doing whatever he does, and then there came Javier Milei. I remember being there, and I knew in that moment that I was witnessing history, and he was giving him this chainsaw of bureaucracy. Like you said, he cut down 18 ministers to 9, so he cut down that bureaucracy into hell with 50%. Can you tell me more about it? Because, we're in Europe, we're very fascinated about Doge. We've been talking about the new Doge a lot. We'll touch upon that a little bit later. But from your perspective, how did that Doge work in Argentina? Can you go more in depth?
Sure, with pleasure. Milei's chainsaw is a symbol of his plan to cut government spending and reduce bureaucracy. In Argentina, he has tried to eliminate many government offices, cut public jobs, and stop unnecessary spending. The idea is to make the state smaller and more efficient. This has been effective in showing that he's serious about change. He's not making fool of this. All the things he said during the campaign, he is doing one by one all the things he said during the campaign. That's why many people still support him. We had some midterms elections in some important states, for example, city of Buenos Aires, and he won. And this is one thing completely that people wasn't expecting this, even in the polls. So people is tired, Argentinian people is tired of corruption and a large, slow government. Why?
Yeah.
Because during the Cristina Kirchner time, we are talking about 16 years in Argentina. First, Nestor Kirchner, her husband, then 2 times Cristina, and then the last government, Alberto Fernandez as president, but Cristina Kirchner as vice president. The real power, of course, was her, as always. So the Kirchner, for the almost 20 years, there was a point when they created useless ministries just to give jobs to people from her political group. Some of them didn't even show up to work, but still got paid a salary. That's why when you look up the entire numbers that Milei cut of public work, you talk about 40,000 jobs. But all of these jobs were militant of Cristina Kirchner. That's why he always talk about the chainsaw, because the amount of the state that the Kirchner did in Argentina was a monster.
What a refreshment to have a leader that actually cares about his people, like I'm just thinking from that perspective, how can you justify creating 40,000 jobs just for your own friends so they can live this lavish lifestyle when you've got 53% people living in poverty? That doesn't mean that the other peoples are living a necessarily luxurious and good life. That's not the way, or that's not even the reason why people have a government. People have a government so they are provided in their basic human needs: affordable health care, housing, education. The fact that now there's being budget freed to actually invest into the people of Argentina, putting Argentina first, making Argentina great again, it's very inspiring. And we've seen that it's inspired as well the United States. It inspired them to actually defund the US aids, but also to literally set up the Doge department, which was led by Elon Musk. Now that he has stopped, they reflect on it and they say that he was able to cut down on 175 billion, which is a lot of money when you think about it, but it's not near to the 2 trillion that they were aiming for. Where did they go wrong?
Well, I think Trump's monetary and economic policy is very different from Milei's because Trump follows a more protectionist approach, focusing on keeping jobs and production inside the US to make the American industry stronger and sometimes even increasing spending to support that. Even Elon Musk said he was some kind of disappointed with Trump's spending plan, as it increased the deficit and undermined Doge's efforts, calling it a disgusting abomination. These words that Elon Musk used. On the other hand, Milei's strategy is more radical and focused on reducing the size of the state, cutting spending, and stopping inflation. So the reality of Argentina and the reality of United States are very, very different. So when it comes to Doge, I think the method can work better if it's adapted to each country's reality. In the US, they could focus on a smart spending cuts without hurting essential services. In Argentina, the focus is on survival, a deep and structural change. So I'm not sure if the Milei chainsaw could work in one country the same way, only because we talked about different realities.
Okay, that's interesting because that was going to be my next question, of course. If you look at Europe, where I'm from, we look with a lot of admiration to Javier Milei. We think it's very inspiring how he was actually effectively helping to improve the economy by reducing the bureaucracy. And there's been many calls to have an EU Doge because inflation is still rising in European countries. It's being terrible, especially to the middle class. Everything is becoming more expensive. We've got the European Commission that loves spending money and spends it literally like it's water. They spend it for a war in Ukraine with the new plan, Rearm Europe. We're still paying off the previous fund that they have, which all goes into the hands of these unelected bureaucrats. The issue is, however, that the structures in Europe are very difficult. It's very, very difficult to have something like an EU Doge to cut that red tape in Brussels. But we're still waiting for me to come with that chainsaw. How do you think we could potentially make such an approach successful?
Well, first of all, unlike Europe, where many countries share the same currency, the euro, and have one central bank, the European Central Bank, each country in South America has its own currency and its own central bank. Also, most countries in South America have presidential systems, while in Europe, most have parliamentary systems. In South America, the president is both the head of state and the head of government. People vote directly for the president, and the president makes the huge amount of key decisions. In the parliamentary system, there is usually a prime minister who is the head of government and a president or a king as the head of state. People vote for a parliament and the parliament chooses the prime minister. In the European Central Bank, decisions about printing money and other monetary policies are made by Christine Lagarde. So, on the other hand, you are absolutely right. The European Commission is being run by unelected bureaucrats. Yeah. No European citizen voted for Ursula von der Leyen. Yet she holds a huge amount of power. The European Commission looks like a socialist tyranny for me, dressed up as a democracy. It doesn't solve real problems. Instead, it spends billions of things like the green agenda while inflation hits the middle class.
Yeah, it's even beyond that. They create problems, but then, of course, they're always the solution. They create a problem, but they also have a solution. One other topic I want to touch upon with you is that one reason why the social globalists are so successful is because they are united. They're very well in collaborating and working with one another, which is something that we have to learn from them, I think. If you want to have a successful MAGA movement, make America great again, but also make Argentina great again. And here in Europe, we are longing and trying to have this Make Europe Great Again movement. Milei honored Europe this month with a visit. He was there at the Madrid Economic Forum, and he also went to your second home country, Italy, to meet with Meloni. In my view, maybe one of the best conservative patriotic leaders that we have. What is your take on that? And what are your predictions for future collaborations in order to make MAGA and MEGA a true reality?
Well, Milei's visit to Europe was symbolic, but also practical, because he met with leaders like Meloni, which shows his intention to build a strong ties with patriotic, conservative governments in Europe, governments that defend Western values.
Yeah.
But he also traveled to Italy to sign an important agreement between YPF, Argentina's most important energy company, and ENI, the parallel in Italy, the parallel company in Italy, for the development of liquefied natural gas. He's actually taking steps to attract investment and open the country to serious energy projects, because Argentina could become a key energy partner for Europe in the near future. With the war in Ukraine and increasing instability in the Middle East, Europe is facing serious challenges to secure reliable and politically stable sources of energy. Argentina, with its vast oil and gas reserves and a government now open to global partnerships, offers a unique opportunity, because Europe needs long-term energy security, and Argentina can help fill that gap. Not only does Argentina have the resources, but it also shares Western values and a desire to grow through the free market cooperation. But Europe needs less green deals, more energy real deals.
What a beautiful way to close off this interview. I fully agree. I hope Milei will come back. Maybe also have a little visit to the Netherlands, because we could definitely use one of those real energy deals. For the meantime, what's the best way for people to follow you? Because I highly encourage all of our viewers to follow you. You are doing such an excellent work in Argentina. How can they stay in touch with what's going on in Argentina and all of your news?
By Twitter or Instagram, my full name, Candela Sol Silva. Anyone can find me there.
Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch, because I'm sure you'll have many more updates in the next couple of months. And of course, thank you so much for our viewers at home for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. How can we realize an EU Doge? How can we cut the red tape and push back against the spendings of the bureaucrats in Brussels? What can we learn from Milei? And what's your take on him? As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time.